Good evening.
Gosh, it's too bright in here.
We've all got a little glare going on.
I
Yours is
know
definitely.
I need a shade or the sun to go down. It's me.
You've got to be facing out a west window.
And I have like a white shirt on. It's just like that blonde.
Yeah, you kind of look like the Messiah a little bit right now. I gotta.
I'm here for the rapture. Watch out, guys. Peggy, you have your own name on your Zoom today.
Oh, keep my apron on for the meeting, do I?
Were you baking today?
Yeah, I've been, when I go shopping, I've been buying a box of cake mix
Oh.
just to sort of get the kids to make it, you know? So it was JoJo's turn to make the cake mix, so I had to help her.
We've been
But the
doing,
kids, I can just be like, here's a box, go make it, you know?
that
It's
is
good.
nice.
It's like practical life skills, reading, math, measuring,
We've been doing
burning yourself
stone
on hot things.
and pizza. Like those are the two things we've been baking.
I'm gonna step away from my screen, but I can hear you all. I have to bottle feed this goat.
I want you to do that on screen.
You guys want to
That'll
see
be-
it? It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am already kind of vaguely in love with this baby goat that I've seen so many cute little pictures of popping up all the time. And I feel so hard for this because like a week ago, my niece's husband found an infant kitten in the road.
Oh,
And
wow.
we like shared duty trying to keep it alive for a couple days before I found a foster mama cat for it. So oh my god, that's so exhausting.
I know.
Bottom feeding baby
It
animals.
looks like my dog.
Yeah.
I mean, baby humans too, you know. I guess we're still animals, but it's also exhausting.
She acts a lot like a dog. She thinks
It's adorable. What's her name? I want to know.
her name's Noelani. It means heavenly mist from Hawaii.
Whoa, my
He's
dog's
so
name is
cute. I
Alex
Noah.
named her.
jump into there and get
Yeah, she's sucking this bottle down.
Yeah. Look at her go.
She's gotten really healthy. She's a good size now. She was a premature baby, and needed lots of special needs.
Steve is gonna join us a little late because he's trying to double duty with a rescheduled community cares that I guess got
I saw that. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm supposed to be at that too, but I was like, nah, I'll do that next month, y'all. It's one.
So I don't have a very hard agenda. I kind of have like a blob of a variety of things we could visit. And thinking that maybe the first thing to do would be to get a recap from Brendan, if you don't mind, on some property management stuff, just because I was not able to get in on that last meeting, and I am wondering if there's anything that would rise to the top of our agenda as far as action items, because other than that, we really are not looking at action items this month that I'm aware of, unless the election committee or the property management has things that are pressing right now. So if either, I guess,
Yeah.
any of you have action items.
So we had those.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can give a recap of that property management. So from the last meeting and from what we presented last time, and I got to get the right links to everyone. We have those two policies that Jen would like to have approved, and I'll send them out again with the right links and everything, because I asked her for those so that everyone can look at them before the meeting.
So it was a co-signer policy was one.
Yeah, it was like an income qualification. I think it was an income
Verification or something.
I'll double back and see.
Okay. I guess I was wondering to clarify on those policies, there was a description in one of her reports about how she's been working with, I think she said, KCH on kind of bumping brains together to collaborate with different housing policies. And
Correct.
so I guess what I'm wondering is if she's wanting to like propose a policy and then have it come for an audit or a proofing for the board, or like, because I don't know if we have something on the books at all in terms of this stuff. I've never seen the policies that like fall into the property management manual.
Yeah.
I think there's
So
something like
Jen,
that, but
Yeah, so Jen has she has a whole list of policies that she wants us to approve. Especially a lot around, um, some are on, housing issues and things that she believes that we need in place just as an organization because we
Sorry,
provide
Brendan,
housing to
again, your
people.
audio is kind of spotty. Like the last time it did the same thing, and then I don't know if you adjusted something, but
Yeah, I'm gonna
it went in
turn
and
off
out.
my video. Is this any better?
Let's try it.
Is this any better?
Well, you're not a glowing beacon of sunlight anymore, but it sounds pretty good.
Okay, perfect. So Jen has a whole list of policies that she'd like to approve. And I think the idea was to not overwhelm people.
Yeah.
And to just do one or two at a time and have people look them over and then the next meeting approve of them.
Hmm.
And there were some that were pretty important that we kind of had to get on the schedule to move forward with. I believe one was a no smoking policy. And then the other one was the RFP, I'm pretty sure. So I forget which ones because she has so many that she needs to go through. So the idea is to just keep on slinging policies
Mhm.
through and getting them approved,
Hmm.
and having people look at them, give any critique, any feedback, and then implementing that and then approving it. So kind of a little bit of both, so that everyone can get eyes on them, look at them, and then if we need to, go back and then reassess them later. And they are policies that are vetted. They're from other organizations as well, or collaborated from other organizations. So I think, I've looked over a few of them so far and they look pretty good. So,
Yeah, I know that we got the um way back in like early, maybe a month ago, we got there was like a income verification one that I remember coming. But
yeah,
I think I think that one only came to you and me at that point of the board, and maybe that was going to like the property management committee only at that point or something, but
it
um
might be. And
yeah,
so there's two policies that just need to be approved or
yeah.
looked over, discussed at the next meeting and hopefully approved. And then and we'll also, send out another round of policies
So
for
when you say
another.
the next meeting, you mean next week?
Correct, yep.
Okay, and what two are the ones at the top of the docket right now? Because we'll want to get those out to the board like ASAP. So
Yep, and that's what I was saying. So those are the ones that I had sent out, but the links were broken. So
oh yeah, sorry.
I will send those out again.
Right, okay, those ones. I
And,
remember.
and at that property management committee meeting, that's what I had talked to Jen about, of getting those
Yeah,
policies just so we could send them out.
right, okay. Those are the ones from the 16th. Okay, I see. Yeah. So, yeah, if we can get those to the board like by tomorrow, I think we just with stuff like that, we really um to make sure everybody has enough time to look it over. We want to make sure we get it out like a week.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do a better job of getting those out to everyone.
Yeah, and you did send those out, and I'm sorry I didn't get back about the links until a little bit later, but
Yep.
those are tricky because sometimes if you have access to something yourself, you can't tell necessarily, right? Like very easily that like other people might not. So
Yeah. So Jen she just sent me a few items. So another item that we had discussed at the meeting was moving forward with the RFP for the RFP for Sway's space.
Mm-hmm.
So she sent over that and the income policy and our HUD pricing policy as well.
Income policy and HUD pricing.
Yeah, and I will send that on.
Email. And
What?
so that HUD pricing policy, was that basically, so we've got the policy, but then and she's proposing some changes in the percent of increases, but we had also a while back, I know, talked about just a rent freeze for this year. Is that something that is still like the recommendation, or are we talking about just doing a smaller percentage for this?
Well, I believe at the last meeting, we voted on a rent freeze, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think the February meeting that might have, oh gosh, I'm not 100% sure if we voted on it though.
Yeah. So I know that was the recommendation as the rent freeze, and then this updating of the HUD policy
Mhm.
is to move forward with something more equitable for people, because, and she explained it out where, you know, with HUD, it could be an increase of 8% and certain
And our last
to certain
meeting,
levels.
sorry to interject, Brendan, I just looked at the minutes from our last meeting, and this was slated to be discussed at our upcoming meeting.
Okay. So we can discuss on a possible rent freeze and approving this HUD policy, and I think they go well together.
Okay.
These three things go really well because, first of all, we haven't income qualified tenants before, and because of that, we have a lot of tenants who are in precarious situations who may not, with rent increases and things like that, may not be able to afford the space.
Mhm.
And so Jen believes that we need a rent freeze. And then moving forward, income qualifying people so that no one's getting above their head with certain apartments or things like that. And then at the same time, working, you know, maybe easier pricing increases than what HUD has.
Yeah.
Where she said a HUD increase could be up to 18%, and she wants to see it as, you know, HUD pricing or capped at a certain level so people can be kind of know what the increase is going to be each year instead of having to kind of follow what HUD might be.
Okay. So yeah, if you want to send all that out again to the full board, and just let people know that it's going to be kind of brought up for a and potential action next week. I really like how we have gotten more in the habit of kind of dispersing the packet into sort of a rotation through the month, where we've got Steve now sending the director's report and the financials kind of like early in the month. And then Jen's been doing like a property management report. And I think the property management stuff coming kind of like ahead of time. And after this next week's meeting, you can go ahead and send like whatever the next few policies are. And then another thing I actually wanted to quickly mention or ask is just for a similar thing to kind of shift the dynamic with the minutes as well, where those are just coming directly from whoever it is that month doing, or that week doing minutes, and send those out to the board as soon as they're ready. And then proposed changes to any of those things can come up during the meeting, but it's great to just get a little bit at a time. I think I really feel like when we condense everything all together, people kind of just breeze through it at the last minute. And also it's a lot more all at once, and it's kind of like too much to process everything all at once. It's kind of better, like, I think, to chew on let me think about this property management policy this week. And then next week I'll deal with like looking over what the executive director's report, you know, what Steve's been up to, and a little bit at a time seems more digestible to me. And I don't know if that's what is going to be the board consensus, but it seems like a good way to try out and see what people think about it.
So, Sarah, while we were talking here, I queued up the email to the board for the property management. So would you like me to wait a little bit since Steve just sent out the financials and his ED report? And maybe
I mean, I think it's good to get that as soon as possible. And I think probably this time frame right now is a little bit off from what we'll continue forward with, because like the next round of those policies will be coming kind of between the board meeting and the end of the month, you know, like, so that'll be what we're getting in that chunk of the month is some stuff for like well in advance of the following month's meeting. Because those policies are things to, you know, get out there, especially if they're already drafted and ready to be reviewed, you know, then, but for now, I think just because this one is one you tried to send out a while ago and we want to get it out as soon as possible. Yeah, don't hesitate to get that over whenever it's ready. Does that all sound like cool to everybody going forward as far as like minutes coming directly from the secretary or secretaries and committee reports, some of those starting to come directly from committees, you know, even outside of board meetings, and director's report, financials coming from one angle, and then really all that people need to make sure they have enough time to review prior to the meeting is the agenda, which is really the only thing that kind of has to come between the EC meeting and the board meeting, because it's not really set until after we have this meeting. So I don't know, as also double, you know, we're all board members as well. We all kind of have our own purview of what it's like to manage reviewing all of the things that come from the board. Does that sound like a better way to do things, to get things coming from multiple directions? It also kind of feels like maybe it'll keep people more consistently engaged and thinking about board stuff, maybe other than just once a month and then just shutting their board brain off and then turning it back on once a month, or I don't know. Thoughts?
I would just like to say, since I'm still really new to this role with writing the minutes, I would love to just be able to send it to the co-secretary first and make sure it looks okay before sending it out. I think that would help me. Maggie, you've been doing it for so long and doing a great job. I don't feel like you need that same kind of feedback from me, but I would like that as a stepping stone. But other than that, I can say, as long as it's somewhat consolidated in, you know, like there's 2 things that Steve sent out. I worry that people will feel a little inundated and then won't look at any of it. But I do like the idea of it being sent from different people and giving more time to look through it. That does help me a lot. I do feel rushed when you get so much information, and I have skipped maybe reviewing financial, you know, records and reports and such if I don't have time. So I think it's a good plan.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of giving everybody as much time as possible to be able to review stuff. My only real concern with it is that if we don't have sort of a last like compilation out, please. If you don't have a last compilation of everything where all this stuff is organized, it's going to be hard for people to have it at their fingertips at the time of the meeting.
Yeah.
Like if it comes from like 4 or 5 different emails and then we're like, now we're going to review this information that came 3 weeks ago in an email from so-and-so, go find that in your documents.
Yeah.
That's my only real concern. And Eddie,
yeah, that's a good point.
I agree. I think that is something. I even tried to find the Zoom link for this meeting and it took a while.
I
That's why I was
know,
late.
right? Yeah. Yep.
Like
Yep,
digging.
definitely. No, those are really good points. What if one possibility, I don't know if this is good enough, but we could try to organize it in a way where any of the EC that is sending out like board meeting, board packet related stuff, or the staff, or committees that are sending, this is for the board meeting, it all goes into one thread as reply alls, as one option, so that it's at least consolidated into a thread and you just kind of go through the thread. But then that thread could end up getting a little bit kind of trailing and having to scroll a lot. Or alternatively, like reattach things to the final email that goes out, even if
I
they've
like that
already been
idea.
sent out once before.
I like that idea. I also like the shared Google Drive. Do we
Mhm.
just not like using that, or because that would be really nice too to have it all in one easy
I
place.
kind of love the idea, especially for minutes, of just
Yeah.
a Google Doc for them.
Yeah.
Because what I would love to do would be to just allow the entire board to edit the minutes. Because if there's like something that somebody observed during a meeting and it was like, no, that wasn't really what happened, then they can just go in and put a little quick update. And if somebody's like, oh, that's not how you spell my name, they can go in and correct their name spelling or whatever, like any little tweaks or whatever. I doubt anybody's, I wouldn't really worry too much about, honestly, people probably wouldn't mostly do it, but I don't know that I would worry too much about like heavy handedness with that. And it would just be all in one place. It'd be just like, you're responsible then for saving your link to like the Zoom link. So like for the board to come back later, they got to go find where they put that Zoom link. And for the minutes, you're responsible for knowing where to look for the minutes. Like some organizations will just put all their minutes on their website, and then they're not going to send you the link to the website over and over again, but it's centralizes everything. And Maggie, we had kind of talked about some kind of thing, organizing something like that. It looks like Eddie dropped off.
Yeah, I think having, I would not want to give editorial access to the full board, because I have noticed with Google Documents, unlike with a Word document, it's super easy to accidentally just write over something.
Oh, that's a good point. And then just accidentally delete the whole thing.
Yeah, or your kid gets in or your cat walks across.
That's a good point.
Like, but there is
notes, maybe
we could.
You can give comments.
Yeah,
you can give comments on the side. I think that would
right,
be
exactly. And
And
then
I think also pulling it all together gives us a board packet, which is something that we had talked about, like making that available. And actually, this last set of minutes that Eddie and I worked on together, we just had a shared Google document, and we were actually just seamlessly going back and forth as we were going. And you should have access to this new one I just started. So I have now got a template for the full board meeting minutes and a template for the EC minutes. And then last month and this month's minutes are, the one is I think completed and the other is started. And you and I can just bounce it back and forth without any formal, like, I am emailing you the official thing. Like, you can just look at them. I can just look at them and we can just be like, yeah, they're done, and send them off to everybody.
Yeah.
And then that way, if we have that, I wanted to do it kind of as a start to what you and I had talked about. I was like, well, I don't have to go back and like, try to reorganize for 3 years of minutes and board packets. I can just start now, and we can start building that going forward, right?
Yeah,
What I was thinking when I started doing this, like thinking, oh, now that I have a co-chair and we need to share this information back and forth as co-secretaries, like this is a great impetus to actually do that thing that you
yeah. And I can help out with that too. Like if we ever get around to like an archiving project, helping to just upload stuff, but why not start where we're at and just like, get started with it?
Like, I can make this so hard and I never can start it.
Yeah. Let's just get started with it. Let's just do that. My question,
and it's under the umbrella of the Vine Neighborhood Google Association.
What's that?
I know there's a Vine Neighborhood Association Google account, but I made one for the secretary, and so that's where I've been putting it.
Okay.
So it's there.
So the thing about the Google Docs would be, would we be able to like create a multi-page Google Doc, or maybe it would be more of a Google Sheet or something, where we could put all of the minutes into one document? Or what I'm not familiar with, I'm not as that savvy about this stuff, is there a way to organize multiple Google Docs where if I go to one, it's going to kind of connect it to all the other ones, like in a folder or something?
Yeah, there you can make in the Google Docs front page. You can build a folder organization system.
Okay.
Which I haven't yet done.
Okay.
I kind of think maybe what we should have is like a tripartite folder system where it's like board of directors minutes meetings, meeting minutes, EC minute meetings, and
Yeah.
then the whole thing together
Mhm.
with the board packet.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like
And I can do the
months
same with the
right?
agenda.
It's not always the same, right? Like, so the board packet will have the EC minutes from 1 month, the agenda, and it'll have the EC minutes and agenda from 1 month, and then the board of directors minutes from another month, and then the financials might be from like another time, like the time periods are not all the same, right?
Yeah.
So like that packet is kind of its own
Yeah.
document.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I have not been the one putting those together or making the agendas or even having
I feel like
the agenda, so it's hard for me to, like, I don't have that part.
no, yeah, and I feel like so what has been working, I guess, pretty well is to have access to the minutes where you notate the agenda items in the minutes. I do use that regularly for the agenda, and it's just easier for me to kind of go in and edit my previous version of the file of the agenda that I've been using, rather than like any separate document. But I would love to also create like a organized like folder of Google Doc agenda for people to access, so that we don't really at that point even need to send a board packet or send anything. We just like, it's available, and we kind of have maybe we have either a notification that goes out, or just a deadline or a timeline where people automatically know when to expect those documents to be available, or they get a message or something when they're available, something like that.
Yeah, could you automate that?
I'm not sure. I know that when you're creating, so because I like to use a template because it helps me to not accidentally overwrite a previous document by accident. And I know in Google Documents, when I create a new document, I do, like I say, make a copy of the template, and then I rename it as whatever that month is, whatever
Mhm.
date is for that one.
Mm-hmm.
It asks me if I want to maintain the same permissions, but I don't know if doing that sends everybody who has permissions notification that a new document has been made in their permissions. I know when you first give permissions, it emails a person, so-and-so has invited you to have access to such and such a document.
Yeah.
So we could try, see what
The
happens.
tricky thing with permissions, I will say, is that when we started doing Zoom, I sent permissions invites to everybody on the board, and we have like, to this day, we have like 2 board members who actually like accepted the permissions and like gained calendar access to the Zoom and stuff like that. And like, people just didn't respond to it, even though I messaged everybody and was like, I'm sending a connect, please connect to the Zoom. Nobody ended up doing it.
I don't think I even did it. Sorry.
I think I think your account was one of the only ones that was like initially connected almost right off the bat, I think.
Maybe it did. I know for a while I played around with trying to figure out how to, we were talking about this a couple meetings ago.
Yeah.
Get everything online as we're doing it, like live streaming our meetings, and we never did really.
Yeah. And then the other thing about permissions is that if people don't have a Gmail, then like not everybody in our board mailing list is a Gmail account. And I don't know for sure that they all even would be able to connect to the permissions. So that would maybe be a
What if
whole,
what if we just use it for us, for the executive committee?
right, yeah. So that would be maybe a more strong possibility, because we also talked about having just officer emails, which I kind of love, instead of like our personal emails.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
and
Great piece of institutional.
that way, if there's already a Gmail account for each officer, then that Gmail account can get set up permanently with permissions, and each individual officer doesn't even have to do anything ever again. So, well, with the permissions, but yeah, anything ever again. So yeah, I love all these ideas. This is so much more streamlined, and you know, like 20.
Well, the nice one of the things I
Century.
found nice about using the Google stuff is it's not hard to turn things into a PDF, which then
Mhm.
is accessible for everybody. You
Yeah,
know?
it's
So it would
really
just mean
easy.
that we could maintain within our document organization
Mhm.
system. Like
Yeah.
I think creating a PDF and a commentable version
Mhm.
makes sense. Right?
Yeah, yeah. And a doc, because Jeremy has requested alternates to PDFs for things too.
Okay.
So, but it's easy.
Yeah.
It's just as easy to create docs. I do it every month for all of the,
Oh.
like I create the agenda in Google Docs every month. So
Oh, okay. So
um,
the Google translates well in terms of
it's great. Yeah, I send
okay.
him the doc straight out of Google Docs, and I send y'all the PDF, and it works out great. It's super easy, easier than Word or Adobe, actually. So cool. Well, that feels productive to be shifting that over. And I guess let's set the intention to try to get that implemented over the next few months. We don't have to ambitiously say we're going to like do all this automatically right now for like every next thing that goes out. But let's kind of periodically check back in and try out, figure out what we need to do to get it organized. Probably going to have to create a few. It'd be better to create a few officer accounts that need yet to be created and get it set up with that, if that's what the plan we want to have. So rather than putting it into our accounts and then switching everything over later. And yeah. Good. Brendan, I feel like we got a little bit on a tangent, but I wanted to come back just to confirm. So I've got these policies, the two policies, and then you mentioned the RFP. I wasn't clear on whether there is like an action item related to the RFP for 509, 511, you know, right, I can never remember which number right now, or just a discussion item, and whether there's anything else coming out of property management besides those things for this month.
Yeah, there's not really sorry guys. There's not really an action item, but we don't have a policy for the RFP process. So Jen's just following the proposed policy that was out there. So we could approve that policy if we wanted to.
No, we did approve that policy.
We approved it last meeting, actually, Brendan.
Oh, so we're good.
Okay. Did Jen not get notified that I could have sworn that Steve, gosh.
No, I notified her. So it's,
Oh, okay.
I right after we got done, I like told her what got approved for her. So.
Okay, good. So as far as that vacant is concerned, do we foresee any board, like any kind of needed board action about any of that stuff, as far as like repairs, or whether we had talked about combining things, whether we had talked about time frame for the vacancy, like how long we're looking at for it, and then also whether Jen wants any board intervention with the process at all. And I think like according to that policy, there's really not much in terms of that until after the fact when the decision is just basically reported back to us.
Yeah, I'm sorry about I forgot totally that we approved that policy, but I think it's really just to keep people aware of the process. So it's really an awareness thing that people have their eyes on it. And then especially, the board action, there's not really an action item, but we should let people know, share the item. I mean, and that's so the board knows that the process is going on and what's happening.
Yeah.
More of an awareness type item.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you wanna, maybe I'll try to make room for that in a property management report. If you want to just give a quick update that like Jen is using our new policy for this first time, and this is our kind of our trial run. So keep an eye, and as we said before, it's a living document. So anything that we think might need tweaking, then that's what this is for. So okay, good. And then anything else that we didn't discuss yet coming from that realm? Eddie?
I swung by the new space, which is really cool, the new offices. And I'm happy to report that I have a boardroom table for that back room, which she was looking for. And my husband will be so happy to get it out of our barn because I dragged it home. It's really nice. It's from Urban Alliance before they got all fancy. So I'll bring the board table when Jen's ready. That back room had all this foam. Have you all been in the space yet?
A little bit, a long time ago. I haven't recently.
It had all this foam on the walls, and it's like close to impossible to get it off the walls. So I feel really bad for her working on having to get that off. But
yeah,
it's a nice big room. I was a little worried that there wouldn't be a nice big community room or a boardroom.
Maybe it just needs like a big crazy textured mural over all of the residue.
Yeah, she's gonna put paneling up and stuff, but it was nice. I got to talk with her and see. She's got a nice office with a window, which is nice.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm stopping in on Friday for the first time since we've been like moved in. Because Friday is my anniversary, my 2-week anniversary of my second shot. So I'm ready.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we don't need to bring that to the board, but I just have a board table for us to sit at eventually.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait till we can use it someday. Let's see. So, I think I'm sorry, I'm moving down my list. So I'm a little out of order, but that's all covered. I've got a couple more budget review sessions scheduled, and my hope is that next week there's one scheduled for the 18th. Is that next week? That's next week. For the 18th, and hoping to bring Jen into that conversation because we're going to be going over like property management expenditures and stuff like that. Brendan, if you are able to make it for that one, it'll probably be, let me see. This is why I never want to Zoom on my phone because I have to look at the calendar always. I think we're looking at afternoon probably sometime on the 18th. But if not, I mean, Jen, I think should be available for that one. And then a meeting 2 weeks out from there on April 1st with Tony. And anybody who wants to participate in any of those really boring review sessions and stuff, you're all very welcome and encouraged, and also it's totally optional. It doesn't feel nearly as daunting this year as it did last year, given the timing and the circumstances. So I think we'll do all right. And then on a related note to the budget review, I don't know how many people have been made aware of this, and I was kind of hoping Steve would come in for this, but we're all gonna be finding out eventually that we had, I think maybe we had announced at some point the fact that Gwendolyn was awarded a substantial grant for her organization, not even that recently now, maybe a little while back. And so the steps are underway to secure what kind of came as like pie out of the sky as a supplemental grant to the neighborhood association for us to support Hope's efforts in the neighborhood. So details of that I want to let Steve share, because he's been managing the nuts and bolts of that process and knows the ins and outs a little bit better. And hopefully he'll be joining us eventually. But I think he's probably getting waylaid by chatty community cares people as we speak. But if he comes in tonight, he can hopefully give a little updates on that. And so that's really good news. And then Gwendolyn and Steve and I, that'll be me coming in for the first time on Friday for us to have an initial conversation about that funding allotment and plans and strategies, and making sure we're all understanding, each other, and what people's needs are and how we can support her organization. And it's really great because it's so deserved, and she does such good work, and they do such good work. And so that's super good news. Super positive development, I think. And a lot of good can come out of that. And then I wanted to check in on our election, whether there was anything right at this moment, timely, that could use the support or discussion or any type of action from the board. I know we are at the point of almost rounding up our applicants and have a few more days out for that. And I was planning on putting out sort of a last call bulletin on our social media for applicants, but and then probably emailing out to a couple folks this week who can spread the word. But any new developments or updates or requests or pleas for help or anything like that right now?
The only next thing is going to be getting the Vine line,
Yeah.
which has been kind of a sticking point for the last year, where we haven't managed to get one together. And I have not ever been integral to that process, so I don't really know what needs to happen for that to come together. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Much of it is already there in the template, or who has the template.
Yeah.
Or if
Steve's
anything
got
has been like
it's
gathered.
not really a template. It's basically like I wondered that myself the first time I worked on one, and up until the point where we got it to the printer, I was like, what is the template for this? And then I can tell you it is basically a annotated chunk of bulleted text that Steve emails to the printer, and then the printer actually like does the bulk of the work plugging that into their template. So they have the template at the printer. We don't even probably have the software that they use for it, I don't think. But I can't remember her name at the printer, but this is the same person who always formats it for us and plugs it in and then sends a draft, and then we proof the draft and then finalize it. So that I think is something I've been talking, that's come up in conversation with Steve for many, many months now. And that is something that he has charted as his objective. And so I think, if he, I don't want to try to speak for him right now, because I haven't touched base with him on that in a little while now. So I guess if he can join us before we recess, then we can find out whether there's stuff needed for that right now. But other than that, things are kind of going according to plan, it seems like. And we're actually going to pull this thing off, I think. Time to start also thinking about what a meeting might look like. And I think we can maybe even scrap together some remnant of an events committee for for a few months to make something fun happen, I think. And food outdoors seems doable this year in May. I think we can have something pretty great. I mean, everything feels a little great right now. Like running into Eddie at Meyer the other night felt great. Just like everything it feels social is kind of amazing right now.
It didn't feel great to sit there away from my husband and not choose boots at all. We were there for like an hour. So it was
He
good
didn't
to
even
see you.
choose
He
a
didn't
pair
even-
at the end.
He's so picky.
You were-
Then we went to Walmart. I was like, what are we doing? But whatever. That's our social event. Like
I know, right? But at
go
least we got
out.
to like hang out for 30 seconds together.
like yeah, in the hallway.
And then another thing I think I just wanted to plug into the next week's agenda is just a brief recap and discussion on Damara's presentation and talk. And I'm going to include, she did send me, I'm really badly lagging about this, and I meant to send it a little sooner, but I am going to communicate out her proposal to folks, because I did ask her for a proposal, and then she got it back to me a little bit ago, and I'm going to send that out to folks to review. It is, I mean, I will say right off the bat, as our humble organization will likely feel similarly like those like dollar signs flashing in your eyes. I don't want us to feel daunted by the price tag on this. And I think she says it well in there that like if funding is an issue, she's wanting to work with us on that, and she is dedicated. She said something in there like, you know, very straightforwardly about being dedicated to partnering with the organization. And I think it's just like a pretty important opportunity that we need to like make happen. If not immediately, then like let's make a plan for it to happen. So I think it really is obviously something that is exactly what we're talking about doing in order to transform into like a more equitable, more anti-racist organization that can serve our neighborhood better. So yeah, I will send that out, and I will kind of roundtable a little bit next week to try to hear back from board members on what people's reactions are to that. And then also I think I wanted to come back to plug something in for next week. As Gwendolyn a long time back now had asked for an agenda item to give some updates on Hope. And I feel like even so much more has happened since she asked about that, if she is able to join us for this month, which I'm still not sure, you know, I guess we'll probably find out on Friday, whether she's going to make it on Tuesday. She's just had so much going on professionally and personally that we shall reserve a spot, I think, for her updates in case she's able to give those next week. So yeah, any other agenda stuff that folks have that we have not covered?
I'm just wondering, I don't know where this would fit, but one of the building blocks members that lives on Rose Place or Rose Court, their house burnt down on Sunday, and her family has 2 teen daughters. It's Cheryl Besser. I don't know if you all know her, but she's in hospice as well. She has brain cancer, and I don't know how, I just wanted to bring it up to VNA and see if there's ever been assistance given to residents in the Vine. I just feel for the 2 teams,